Welcome the chosen ones. Some inherit kingdoms, others seize them. But a kingdom rightfully earned always finds its champion. History echoes, empires crumble, and pretenders cling to power. Then from the shadows emerges one who defies the script, not to blend in, but to ignite change. That champion destined for greatness is you. Doubt may linger, but consider this: psychology recognizes imposter syndrome. Ironically, it's the frauds who truly suffer, haunted by the knowledge they're built on borrowed foundations. They live in perpetual fear, awaiting the arrival of the one who will expose their charade. And lately, your shadow has been darkening their dreams. This isn't merely about personal success or ambition. This is about becoming a walking truth serum, exposing every falsehood, every overblown claim, every undeserved accolade. Your ascent isn't just a threat to their position. It's a meticulous dismantling of their entire fabricated credibility, achievement by hard-won achievement. The irony: you haven't even launched a direct assault. Your very existence sends tremors through their carefully constructed facade, reducing them to anxious shadows. They believed their reign was secure, their position unassailable. But with each stride you take, the clock ticks louder, signaling the inevitable shift. Prepare yourself, for this isn't a tale of petty rivalry. It is a seismic shift in power, a destiny preordained, a journey where you dismantle a throne built on deceit. First, your rise serves as a public indictment of their ill-gotten power. It's not just about your personal advancement. It's a living testament to the fact that the previous occupant was fundamentally unfit. As you excel, you aren't merely bolstering your own reputation. You're dragging their legacy into the unforgiving glare of scrutiny. Cracks once conveniently ignored now become glaring chasms. Their carefully constructed edifice of lies begins to crumble. This is why your progress evokes such visceral fear. Each victory serves as a silent, irrefutable accusation they built their influence on shifting sands, not bedrock. Those who hold power illegitimately depend on a collective forgetting. They rely on the world, conveniently overlooking the questionable means by which they ascended. But your achievements shatter this illusion. The higher you climb, the harder it becomes to conceal the truth. Their reign was born of opportunism, not merit. What exacerbates their plight is that you need not launch a direct attack. You don't need to engage in smear campaigns or dredge up buried secrets. You simply embody a higher standard, rendering their performance embarrassingly inadequate. When you were chosen for this path, it wasn't just about talent or ambition. It was because your very presence holds the power to expose falsehoods without uttering a word. This is a rare and potent gift. While some blend into the system or quietly navigate around it, you disrupt it simply by being true to your calling. And once the world tastes authenticity, it's impossible to feign enthusiasm for the imitation. This is the root of their profound discomfort. It isn't mere jealousy, it's a desperate fight for survival. With each rise in your reputation, their fabricated image crumbles further. Every laudatory headline, every prestigious endorsement, every voice singing your praises becomes another brick pulled from their faltering foundation. You're not just succeeding, you're rewriting the very definition of leadership, influence, and mastery. And deep down, they know that from such exposure, there's no recovery. Once the illusion is shattered, the throne is lost forever. Second, you were chosen because you possess the audacity to act without their permission. You were chosen for this role because you don't seek validation, you forge your own path. This is a dangerous trait for those who base their power on controlling others. Most people hesitate, seeking approval, waiting for someone to grant them permission. You bypass that step altogether. You don't wait for an invitation, you build your own table and you decide who sits at it. This independence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is a poison to manipulators. They thrive on controlling the narrative, manipulating those they perceive as weaker. They maintain power by rationing out small doses of approval, thereby controlling who rises and who remains suppressed. But when you shatter their control and operate outside their system of permission slips, their whole edifice begins to collapse. You become an uncontrolled variable, an element they cannot manipulate. This terrifies them more than they dare admit. Destiny required someone who couldn't be bought, silenced, or swayed by the opinions of those they were destined to surpass. Such unwavering resolve is rare because it comes at a cost. To act without permission often means to act without support, applause, or a safety net. But that's precisely what makes you the right choice. You've built momentum without relying on their approval, meaning your success cannot be extinguished by their disapproval. They may attempt to distort the narrative, portraying you as reckless, stubborn, or difficult. But the truth is, they cannot accept that you've demonstrated their approval isn't the only currency that matters. You've proven that achievement can be born of skill, unwavering determination, and unwavering faith. This fundamentally undermines their self-image as gatekeepers. The deepest reason you were chosen is that dismantling entrenched corruption demands someone who refuses to seek blessing from those they are destined to replace. If you were dependent on their recognition, they could have neutralized you long ago. But you were built to move forward regardless, and that's why you are unstoppable in this fight. Third, this isn't about revenge. It's about removing a blockage stifling progress. You weren't put in this position to inflate your ego or settle a personal score. Your purpose is far greater. You were sent to correct a deep imbalance, to remove an obstruction that has been holding back what should have been thriving. Your rise isn't an act of personal vengeance. It's a necessary intervention to restore momentum. Revenge is about individual gratification. Removal is about empowering all those who have suffered under a corrupt system. When you replace someone who doesn't deserve the position they hold, you don't just end their reign, you unlock opportunities for countless others who have been trapped in the shadow of their incompetence. That's why your presence is so disruptive. You are a threat to the entire structure they've built around themselves. Power in the wrong hands doesn't just corrupt, it stagnates. It silences the voices that need to be heard, binds the hands that need to be active, and disregards the work that needs to be done. You are like a skilled surgeon removing a tumor. Suddenly, vital systems begin to function properly. They know this. And that's why they fight so fiercely to keep you out. Once you fully assume your role, they can never regain control without exposing their true nature to the world. This assignment carries profound weight. It's not just about personal feelings, it's about ensuring that truth, righteous leadership, and a clear direction are restored. Your triumph isn't solely for yourself, it belongs to everyone who has been yearning for change but lacked the power to enact it. You possess that power, and that's why you were chosen to remove them, not to punish, but to pave the way for a greater collective future. Fourth, your name resonates because you are rewriting the rules of engagement. They were confident you'd follow the predictable path of those who came before, the same script they've used to maintain control. They distribute the roles, set the stage, and then sit back as others unwittingly play their parts. But you didn't just refuse to read their lines, you tossed the script aside and began writing your own. This is why your reputation is spreading with such speed. Your next move remains a mystery, and unpredictability is the nemesis of manipulation. Those in power rely on predictable patterns. They anticipate hesitation, self-doubt, the point of surrender. But you've broken free, abandoning the question of what's normally done in favor of what's right and effective. That shift alone defies their ability to control you, because their power depends on adherence to their rules. When you break those rules, the game becomes unwinnable for them. You aren't acting recklessly. You're being strategic. You're moving with purpose, but not according to their expectations. This prevents them from labeling you as careless or incompetent, because your results speak louder than their accusations. Each unexpected success chips away at the carefully constructed myth that they are the smartest and most capable. The reason your name is spreading is that people crave something different. They've been subjected to the same stale performances for years, leaving them jaded and numb. But when someone refuses to perpetuate the tired drama, it awakens their senses. They begin to pay attention, and once they witness genuine authenticity, the staged performances feel hollow. You didn't just enter the story, you became the story. They can no longer edit you out, because too many people are invested in seeing what happens next. The narrative is now yours, not theirs. Fifth, their downfall proves that truth ultimately triumphs over lies. Lies can be lavishly dressed, expertly lit, and impeccably performed, but they all have an expiration date. Truth, however, doesn't require constant maintenance to remain believable. Lies demand constant upkeep, new props, new stories, and endless adjustments to keep the audience convinced. Eventually, the weight of these demands becomes unbearable and cracks begin to appear. Your steady progress didn't just outshine them, it exposed them. You weren't trying to prove anything, you were simply doing the work consistently and without fanfare. As you consistently produced tangible results, it became impossible for people to ignore the glaring truth: you were building something real while they were merely pretending. Each victory became an unavoidable mirror reflecting the emptiness of their performance. Their fall may seem sudden to outsiders, but you know it has been a long time coming. They've been running on a treadmill, working tirelessly to appear as if they're making progress. You've been steadily walking a real road, covering real ground. The distance between you was bound to become undeniable. Truth always outworks lies because truth has nothing to hide. It doesn't fear scrutiny. It doesn't require constant repackaging to remain relevant. When people finally compare the two side by side, authenticity and pretense, the choice becomes clear. They might have had the glitter, but you possess the gold. Their downfall isn't just about their loss. It's about the world being reminded that pretense can only take you so far. At some point, substance will always eclipse style. They're discovering this now, and you are the living embodiment of it. Your work speaks for itself, and no amount of artificial shine can compete with the legacy you are building. Sixth, you're not competing. You're redefining the very rules of the game. They think this is a competition, but you are playing a different game entirely. While they are busy checking boxes, following formulas, and adhering to what they believe are the rules of the game, you've stepped off the field altogether. You've created a new arena where old strategies are useless and old tricks are ineffective. That's why they can't keep up. They're chasing shadows while you are rewriting the rules. This shift is terrifying because they've spent so long convincing themselves that victory was about outplaying everyone else. They believed mastering the expected moves would ensure they remained on top. But their game was never real. It was a shallow imitation designed to keep them in control. You are operating on a completely different level where influence is measured by real impact and unwavering integrity, not manipulation. By redefining the arena, you force those around you to confront a truth they weren't prepared for. The rules they've been following are meaningless outside their small bubble. They can't cheat. They can't fake it, and they certainly can't bully their way to victory. You've created an environment where the only path to success is to be authentically yourself. This is a space where they cannot thrive because they only know performance, not authenticity. The brilliance of this is subtle but devastating. You haven't attacked them, you've evolved. Your presence exposes the limitations of their strategy and the emptiness of their victories. Each attempt they make to catch up only reinforces their inadequacy. Their frustration, their panic, their scramble to regain control all validate your approach. You've demonstrated that influence, authority, and legacy are not about adhering to someone else's expectations. They are about creating your own stage and commanding it with consistency, courage, and authenticity. In doing so, you've made it impossible for them to operate in the same space. The arena now belongs to you, and they will never feel comfortable there again. Seventh, your authority wasn't granted. It was recognized. Your authority was never a gift handed to you like a participation trophy. It wasn't bestowed by someone else's approval or validated by their rules. It was always inherently yours, waiting for the moment when it could no longer be denied. This isn't chance or luck. It's the world catching up to reality. People are noticing because the false leaders and fake authorities are finally crumbling. For years, these leaders relied on distraction, noise, and deception to suppress anyone who could challenge their dominance. They prospered under the illusion that authority could be manufactured, that influence could be faked. But no matter how loudly they proclaimed their own greatness, they couldn't hide what was real. You were quietly moving, quietly building, quietly proving that true authority isn't declared. It's recognized through consistency, results, and the unique energy you project. The moment people see the stark contrast, the shift becomes undeniable. One side is built on ego manipulation and borrowed power. The other side, you, is built on skill, authenticity, and undeniable impact. Your authority doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need to dominate the room. It simply exists, drawing others to its credibility and grounded nature. This is what terrifies those who once held the fake throne. They've been exposed not because you challenged them aggressively, but because you didn't need to. Your very presence does the work revealing the truth. Your rise proves that the old guard was never irreplaceable. You don't just occupy a position, you transform it. People recognize that authority naturally flows from competence and integrity. That is why you are being seen, respected, and followed. Their downfall isn't your doing, it's the consequence when authentic authority finally emerges. You weren't handed anything. You earned it, perhaps unnoticed at first, but recognition has finally arrived. Your authority is not borrowed, temporary, or dependent on anyone else's permission. It's real and it's undeniable. 8, they mistook your patience for weakness. Now it will be their downfall. They assumed you were passive, mistaking your measured approach for a lack of strength. They believed that because you didn't react impulsively, you lacked the will to act decisively. That was their fatal mistake. Patience is a powerful weapon in the arsenal of someone who knows their objective. You weren't idle or indecisive. You were observing, calculating, and waiting for the precise moment when their flaws, lies, and corruption would be impossible to ignore. Most act too soon, driven by emotion, pride, or impulse, resulting in short-lived victories because the attack lacked precision. You operate differently. You understood that timing is more critical than speed, and precision is more effective than brute force. You allowed them to believe they were untouchable, their arrogance and carelessness unchecked. Every misstep, every lie, every shortcut was meticulously noted. When the moment arrived, when the evidence of their failures was undeniable and the world could see clearly, you struck with decisive authority. Their downfall isn't about your actions. It's about the inevitable consequences of their choices. There was no need to rush. Their ingrained patterns, overconfidence, and underestimation of your abilities all sealed their fate. The longer you waited, the more they revealed about themselves. By the time you acted, there was no defense or escape. Their collapse wasn't sudden. It was the consequence of their actions exposed by your disciplined patience. This is why patience is a dangerous attribute. It conserves energy, gathers evidence, and ensures that action, when taken, is absolute. You didn't just win. You understood when to act and chose the moment that guaranteed permanence. The very quality they misinterpreted, your patience, has become the instrument of their destruction. What they perceived as restraint was controlled power. And the price of underestimating you is a fall from which there is no recovery. 9th, the more they speak, the louder they advertise your greatness. Every attempt to tarnish your reputation has the opposite effect. They believe they are controlling the narrative, painting you as flawed and undermining your influence. But their noise only draws more attention. People are naturally curious. They want to understand what all the fuss is about. When they look, they don't find the flaws and failures they were promised. They find competence, authenticity, and undeniable results. That sharp contrast amplifies your greatness. The irony is profound. They exhaust themselves trying to sow doubt, but every effort backfires. Their words highlight your strengths. Each accusation becomes a headline, a talking point, a reason to investigate and witness the truth firsthand. Instead of harming you, their efforts provide exposure, credibility, and momentum. The louder they try to speak, the more people listen, and the more impressed they are by what they discover. Their frustration knows no bounds. They believed their words would halt your ascent, but instead they fuel it. Their panic and overexposure unintentionally validate everything you've been working towards. Every rant, every rumor, every desperate attempt to damage your reputation only confirms that you are someone worth talking about. Their words inspire others to action. They motivate them to follow your work, align with your vision, and recognize your influence. The chasm between your consistent achievements and their desperate attempts at sabotage creates a narrative where you naturally emerge as the authority, the standard, and the embodiment of true capability. Let them speak. Let them rant, for each syllable is an advertisement for your excellence. Every effort to discredit you serves as free promotion, spreading your name, impact, and story further than you could have achieved alone. The more they attempt to drag you down, the higher you ascend. There's nothing they can do to stop it. So what's the takeaway from all of this? It's really about recognizing the power you possess to dismantle deceit simply by being true to yourself and your purpose. It's about understanding that sometimes the greatest impact comes not from direct confrontation, but from consistently embodying a higher standard and forging your own path with unwavering integrity. It's about understanding that your patience isn't weakness and that authenticity will always triumph. Ultimately, you're not just striving for personal success, you're paving the way for a more truthful and equitable future for everyone. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What resonates with you the most? Have you experienced something similar in your own life? Leave a comment below, ask a question, or just share your perspective. Let's get the conversation going. And if this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future explorations of power, purpose, and the incredible potential that lies within you. Thanks for watching.